So, like I said, this one does not provide any explicit congruencies, but there's some implied or implicit congruencies, and they imply them and hide them with that thing right there, with that vocabulary word. If you remember back to those 7 steps when we first introduced proofs, first thing was to write your given down, go to your picture, draw in all congruencies that your given gave, and then eventually you get to a step that says, look at your vocabulary you're given and write down everything that that vocabulary tells you, the congruencies that that vocabulary might provide. What does a midpoint do for us? Cameron?
It tells us the middle.
Okay, it tells us the middle point, right? So if I look at C, C is the middle point of that segment AE, right? That's what that's saying. Well, if C is the middle point, what does it tell you about that distance compared to that distance? No? Distances. It means they're the same, right? So AC is congruent. AC is congruent to CE. And that's what we want to write down here in step 2. AC is congruent to CE. And we know that information because this vocabulary word told us what to use. Okay? So our reason here is because we knew what the definition of a midpoint was. We knew what a midpoint does for us, and that is explained in its definition. Okay, good. So he's saying, that if they also say that C is the midpoint of BD, we should also make the argument that B to C, that smaller segment, isn't the same thing as C to D, right? Okay. So I want to say BC is congruent to CD. And it's the same reasons, definition of midpoint, so I'm going to just write that all in the same statement. Okay? So now we've got 2 congruencies out of the 3 that we need to show triangles congruent, right? What's the one that is hidden in the picture? Okay, so we've got this angle right there, congruent to that angle right there, right? Okay. Now the number one mistake I see people doing is they call it angle C. Okay. Don't do that, because if I say angle C, you could interpret it. Remember, I know exactly what you mean when you write it, but you want to think that the person that's reading our proof doesn't know as much as we do. And if I say angle C, I could be implying that angle there and that angle there, right? Or I could actually, there's more. I could imply that angle is angle C, because they all have the same vertex C, right? So when you have multiple angles being shared at that vertex, or shared by a vertex, we need to use 3 letters. So it doesn't really matter the order that you use. Maybe I go BCA. So I'm going to call that angle BCA. And that traces out that angle that you're looking at, right? That's the angle that Chandler was pointing out to me that we want to deal with. So BCA provides directions of tracing out that angle there. Okay. Now, if I named it BCA, now you don't have to do this when we name the angle over here, because I could name the angle over here DCE or ECD, right? I still put C at the vertex. So you got some kind of freedom in naming that other angle, but C has to be the vertex, it has to be the middle point. And I'm going to try to follow the same pattern that I did over here. You don't have to, but I think it's a good idea to get in that habit of following those patterns that you use to name one thing, name the other one using the same pattern. So I went from B to C to A. So B to C to A. I went down a segment that had 2 marks in it, and then a segment that had 1 mark in it. So up here I got to go down from D to C to E. That's not extremely important when I just name angles congruent, but it is 100% always important when I name triangles congruent. But if I want to try to get myself in that mind frame and that practice of knowing that the order matters. So might as well just go ahead and do it with angles as well. Okay. The next thing we want to do, so that reason, what was the reason why those 2 angles were congruent? Good, they're vertical angles. Okay. We had a theorem that said vertical angles are congruent. Okay, so vertical angles are congruent. So that's nice. Look at my picture now. we have three congruencies. Those three congruencies are showing up in our picture. And this is, I just want to kind of prove a point to you. As we're writing these congruencies down over here, we wrote that congruency, we wrote that congruency, and we wrote that one, right? Those three congruencies. If I was not filling things in my picture, would I know that I'm done? Or if I didn't fill in those congruencies of those segments, would I know that maybe I should probably focus on those two angles?
No.
No. Okay? So as you are progressively working through the problem, it's going to be very important for you, once you declare a congruency, go back to your picture and make sure you're filling it in. It's really hard to look at those three things right there and say that it's side angle side. But when I look at my picture, hopefully you realize it's a lot easier to see visually that that's side angle side. Okay? So now I've got that information. We'll say triangle ABC. And it doesn't matter. I went ABC, which you could have called it probably actually makes sense to call it BCA. Because when I'm in step number 3, I named that correctly, right? And I went through the same pattern to keep BCE. So I could call it BCA and BCE. But I went ABC instead. So ABC, I got to go EDC. Good. EDC. And the reason for that is, what was the relationship between these three parts? What's their order? Side angle side. Okay. Whenever you make that argument, two triangles congruent, it's always going to be one of our congruency postulates or eventually congruency theorems, and they're all acronyms with 3 or 2 letters. Okay. Now, look at what we wanted to prove. Are we done?
No.
No. And we haven't thought about looking at that proof statement throughout the whole 3, 4, 5 minutes of this problem. We never looked at that. Okay. I get that. I know my picture of triangles in it, so that's kind of the overall thing that you want to do. Prove triangles congruent. But now I want to look and say, okay, the next thing to do is show that the angle A and angle E are congruent. Well, look at your triangle congruency statement. Is angle A the first letter there?
Yes.
Is E the first letter over there?
Yes.
So what's that telling me?
They're
They're congruent. So angle A is congruent to angle E. Because when we match up the fact that they were first things in their names, A was first in its name, E is first in its name, that means they're corresponding, right?
Yep.
They're both angles, so that means they're corresponding parts, right? They came from congruent triangles, right? And the conclusion we're making is that they're congruent themselves, right? So corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. Our reason for step number 5 is that phrase CPCTC that we introduced the other day. Okay? Now, here's where this is going to go. This is where this is leading to in other sections. Now that I know these two triangles are congruent, and now I know that angle A is congruent to angle E, and you don't need to write this down. But if angle A is the same thing as angle E, what eventually could you tell me about that segment compared to that segment? They're parallel, because they end up being alternate interior angles with that transversal. And we know that alternate interior angles are congruent, then the lines that get cut by the transversal have to be parallel. Okay? So, without chapter 4, we'll do that information later on in other chapters. Without chapter 4, our textbook would stop at chapter 3. We would not have chapter 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and so on. Okay? We need to have this congruency idea to build the rest of the course. Okay? So it's very important. We're spending several days on this. The homework from last night is due tomorrow. Make sure that we